Ooh, Lordy, it's cold. Suffer, Italians. Suffer, Ozémpic takers. Suffer. Oh, Lordy. Howdy. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's staying warm. Ooh, buddy. That storm's been going over us recently, and it's been hitting my spine extra hard. It is what it is. Let's get into it. When I talk about the quantum state of reality, I don't mean bullshift. I mean redshift. That's what I mean. I don't mean alchemical lies. I don't mean art being misinterpreted. And so, oh, I thought it was this, and now it's actually this. I'm saying that over the course of billions of years, the fundamental laws of the universe can shift. And so that makes all things, from hypothesis to theory to law, subject to change. And one can only speculate at what forces are at play when things like redshift happen. You know, there was a Japanese Robin Hood, and I knew the name of this guy, and I knew his story very intensely back when I was studying Zen, who would steal from the rich, give to the poor, tried to assassinate an official once. I think he was pretty high up. It might have been like a shogun or something. And or maybe a shogun's confidant, or something like that. He was sentenced to boil in a pot, a gigantic boiling pot, of which the namesake is now kept as a sauna pot, and they call it this guy's name. And he was sentenced to boil with his son, too. And so, which would mean that his particular patrilineal dynasty would have been wiped out. That's the punishment and what it was intended for. But when he noticed the suffering of his son, he raised his son up and then immediately plunged him down into the very bottom of the pot. And then after he was sure that his son was dead, he held his son's body aloft and showed everybody, what his willpower had accomplished, which is the minimization of the suffering of his son. And ultimately, that is, no matter what happens to your family, the ability to take control and minimize the suffering of your family is the most important part. Sam Hyde has 2 new videos that are of great import, and they're on his official channel. And I subscribed recently after seeing the Dear Elon channel. I've been watching MDE since I was a teenager, but I have not been a big fan of Sam Hyde up until just recently. About 2023, 2024, about 2024 actually. And he did a Dear Vivek video, which had a bunch of call-ins. And a lot of those call-ins expressed a lot of similar pain to the people that are suffering in this country right now. But one of them was a guy from Florida. And he sounds like a typical guy from Florida right now, in that he was screaming and crying and moaning and pissing about his children wanted to see snow, which I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think he might have been lying to obfuscate the real reason why he decided to spend a boatload of money renting a truck and going up north. He genuinely was interpreted by Sam as a guy with a knife in his head, effectively, and that's very likely what he is. And Sam gave this wonderful advice to not take that same attitude, or wherever you got it, and stab it into your kid's head. So if they genuinely wanted to go up and see snow, okay, fine, great, wonderful. Doesn't seem like the sort of thing that children would be into, but hey, I'm not the guy, not the children's father. I'm not the children's mother. I don't know what's going on. What I do know is the attitude of the guy is piss poor, and if he allows that attitude to corrupt his trip, his spending, his lifestyle, that attitude, as I've been explaining on the podcast, your attitude is everything. That attitude will destroy anything that he thinks he's accomplishing. Even if it was for him, if he has a bad attitude about it and how much it costs to go to a rental company, one of the worst companies in America that is tied super close to insurance, the worst set of companies in America. It's tied super close to making sure that they get as much gas and petroleum as they want, which is one of the worst companies. It's a bundle of evil. You think that you're getting something good out of a rental company. Just look up the horror stories involving Hertz. Leto's Law does a lot of good episodes on that. But that's his choice to trust that company. And when he did that, he fucked up his ability to actually enjoy for whatever reason, the trip that he was taking. So that's it. Just have a good attitude. Sam's laying out the good advice. One thing is just like, brown or Indian or what have you. That doesn't affect that. Actually, I genuinely don't think that would affect. No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't affect how Sam thinks about you. It wouldn't affect how most intelligent people think about you. What is it about is having somebody who is very obviously from a completely separate country, who is a man, who therefore is trying to diagonally integrate into and find a female of American culture, and turn it like, I'm sorry, Hindus. I don't got a lot of shade towards Hindus, but like what I'm seeing in Texas, you couldn't have found a worse place to set up your Hinduist statues and your little commune of Hinduist beliefs. You couldn't have found a worse place to set up than Texas. Like, if you didn't want horrendous publicity and immense problems, then you should have gone to a different place. And Texas is terrible. Texas is one gigantic conflict. And I have people that I love in Texas. And I know people that I've been close friends with in Texas. And it doesn't make it any easier. It doesn't make it any easier to live there. It's a terrible place. So if anybody was wondering what to tell young men, just have a good attitude. It's as simple as that. When I was younger, I did a lot of nice things that gave me the strength to endure immense hardships and persevere. When you do nice things, it comes back to you constantly, and it's patterned in your memory, and you have to have the fortitude to withstand people trying to take advantage of that. But once you see that, it's very easy to turn away from it. Anybody who's saying, oh, you'll just get taken advantage of, they're painting a phantasmagorical world of demons in front of you. And that will just like Alex Jones. I'm sorry if you like Alex Jones, but Alex Jones is an absolute monster because of the way that he portrays a vast majority of people. The way that he looks at his neighbors like food, and he very likely is very paranoid and distrustful. But in general, he's not focusing on any of the good in the world. He's focusing on exclusively on the bad. So when you focus on like John Podesta and the worst possible people exclusively, eventually you will become modern Alex Jones and just be lashing out all over the place. Like, that Sandy Hook shit is dark. It's dark and it's demented. Now, $2 trillion is a comical, or $2 billion or whatever they charged him. It's a comical court settlement, but not a settlement, but court extraction. But what he said was so horrendous that they could stack it and 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 stack it. And they could show so many different times in court that he had made the lives of people who were suffering more than anybody else horrendously bad. It's like, if you can do that, then you're in the same boat as the Israelis when they torment the Palestinians and then scapegoat like little kids and women to destroy everything and turn it into a parking lot so that they can park their toys when nobody wants to play with them. And it's a dog shit piece of property in the middle of fucking nowhere. It doesn't matter if it's beachfront. The weather is awful because it's next to Saudi Arabia, and it's going to turn into a giant desert. Saudi Arabia is so inept and so stupid, and what they've done and what we've done to Iraq is so inept and so stupid that that's not going to be fended off by, sucking up the local lakes and irrigating some water in and desalinating it. It's gonna the dominoes are gonna fall faster than they can recover in that general area. It's completely fucked from the last 20 years. If you wanted to have any place to live in the Middle East, you should have gone back 20 years and convinced George W. Bush not to launch like a modern crusade. Because this is exactly how crusades look. This is exactly why people stopped doing crusades, and in England they went underground and they had crusades launched in secret. Because crusades always backfire for a vast majority, but somehow manage to make the spoils of war, up to the Swiss banks and stuff like that. There's a reason why it was attacked by a vast majority of Christianity. And you know what? This might get me in trouble, but I do think that there's a racial element in communism. I don't think that in Spain, regular Catholics would have decided to destroy the foundation of their own society. I don't think in the Netherlands or in Germany, Lutherans and Calvinists would have had maybe Calvinists, because it does come from a merchant-based philosophy economy. But I don't think they would have had the ability to destroy the ground underneath on which they sat unless they were having particular racially biased things screamed in their ear, and that's where a lot of the white-black stuff comes from. It's a weaponized, reverse-engineered tool to make people think that, the poor is okay because I can steal some for my people. You're probably getting what I'm trying to say here. That's, I believe, the root of communism, is that it was meant to destroy previous orders of Christianity and to create this neoliberal hellscape that we live in today. It was a tool, it was a crowbar or a hammer, and it was used effectively. And whether you're an anti-communist or a communist, you built up massive militaries, factories full of military equipment, welfare state that's flushed full of money for exclusively people who have served and then gotten injured, have served and have grown old. The education and the ability to eat and have a home if you sign up and you go for a long enough tour, that is all welfare. Every last bit of it, that is all welfare, and that's what your welfare state has been set up to. So it's like built on top of the block of communism, and if you think that you can launch a crusade on top of this block of communism to return to tradition, you are woefully mistaken. Woefully mistaken. That, or you know that it's wrong and you're just doing it to make a little money on the side right now. When you do nice things to a stranger and they never see you again, they'll never see your weakness. They'll never see your failure. They'll remember you as potentially an angel or just a really nice guy who came into their life and did good, and then they never saw again. They might remember that in times of weakness, in times of despair. And that's really beautiful. Like, people should be like that more. That's how you regenerate your high-trust society. It's as simple as that. Just do nice things. And this is exactly what the Kiwi Farm should be for, is listing the people that consistently take advantage of the goodness that's done to them. So these genuinely evil alchemists that are constantly turning gold into lead in a metaphysical form with their actions and behavior and language. Instead, it's literally more and more and more and more being forced to turn into Cyrax, Daniel Larson. God. See, I came in before Christian went to jail, and the culture and the site was so different. It was so different. It was so much better, and it's gotten so much worse. And just because Null got money, Well, speaking of which, give me 1 sec. You didn't need to take the bribes, man. People were willing to support you. This shit has a lot of dust on it. I haven't really used it much in 3 years, but I still bought it to support you. You know, I didn't give you $100 for something that I wanted. I gave it to you because I saw you were suffering in a Ukrainian hovel, and it was cold, and you were getting hives broken out, and there were pipes breaking in your apartment. That shit should inform you. When people suffer. Suffer? Yeah, PPP is a little weird. He needs to calm down just a touch. He needs to calm down just a touch. He needs to funnel some of that energy, not all of it, like 10%, into cooking better foods. As you cook better foods, you know, you'll get more and more. You'll associate the effort of cooking with the food instead of just getting the food. That's the worst thing about like DoorDash and shit. It's just like you don't even have to drive. You don't have to put any effort. You just tap an app, you pay a little extra, and then immediately you get lukewarm food. That's ridiculous. As I said, I'm so disappointed that America has slipped into that. And PPP should take a little bit of his effort and put it into eating better, and then take that after some time, put a little bit more effort into exercising a little bit. Well, I don't know if he exercises now, but like real breathing, you know, lifting, breathing, squatting, doing like real shit, push-ups if you can. Some people don't necessarily have the back for push-ups, but yeah. When he does that, he'll notice, oh, wow, I can give 120%. I can give 150%. I can give 200%. Instead, it's going to go on a negative decline. And I really do like PPP. I really do hope he does well. But you can kind of see some weird sadism here and some weird sexualism there. And it's just like, calm down, man, calm down. You know, I got some crazy shit I could say about PPP. I really do. I got it stacked up in my memory because I did a project for Null and I didn't end up releasing it. But like, I don't wanna. I want to see our boy. He's young. He's like 25. I want to see our boy glow up, like for real. I don't want to see him die an early death just because he's so busy working. He's got to put so much effort and strain into what he's doing. He needs to take like 10% of that, put it into making better food. It's as simple as that. You know, that's. I hope this gets back to him. I really do. I really genuinely hope he sees this. You know, kids already do immense labor inside of the home. But it's important that they're not in factories and slaughterhouses. It was the Industrial Revolution that really necessitated child labor laws. Before that, spending time with the animals, cleaning up around the house, doing their own chores, helping out with the family's chores. That was the standard forever, and there wasn't a problem with it. It's when they're crawling through steam vents and getting scalded like rats. I hate to say it like that, but that's how they were treated in Victorian England because of the Industrial Revolution, and that's wrong, and that's exactly why child labor laws exist. And if people ever try to get rid of that, know that that's exactly where they're headed. They're headed towards, you know, dangerous equipment in slaughterhouses. They're going to be breaking their backs, not knowing how to properly pick stuff up, to be gophers on construction sites. That is so wrong. That is so wrong. But hey, you know, the hipsters, they were supposed to be the middle class, but they all ended up retarded. They all ended up spending their money on stupid shit and getting dumbass tattoos and being idiots. And that same contingency turned into like batshit crazy political activists, whether they're on the far left or the far right. You see a lot of hipsters, especially in the Gavin McInnes mold, that turned into far right lunatics. And you see a lot of them that turned into far left lunatics. It's literally the same. I'm sorry, there's no difference between whether or not you're waving around black flags and dressing all in black, or you're dressing in Hugo Boss and giving the Nazi salute. It's exactly the same, in my opinion. It's the exact same thing. Different little difference in the symbols, a little difference in the uniforms. It's the exact same, you know, aggressive cult mentality. When you're cooking for health, as I said, less is more. You ease people into it. You get them to associate tasty with healthy. You get them to appreciate the healthy herbs and the spices. and then they associate healthy with tasty and tasty with healthy. It's real good. That's what you need to do. I first started incorporating turmeric into the stuff that I ate, and at first I was just like, this is kind of nasty, but over time I recognized the genuine antidepressant, anti-inflammatory, anti-anxiety effects of turmeric that have been reported for a very long time. And that isn't Chinese traditional medicine. Let me give you a little rundown on what Chinese traditional medicine is. Chinese traditional medicine is medicine that, not medicine, excuse me. It's what Mao substituted a strong healthcare system with, and what he did was he said, oh yeah, you got some cancer, go find a lizard about that. A lot of it comes from alchemy. As I said, there's like a core contingency of evil, and it involves itself, not always, but most of the time, whether it's a useful idiot or not, it involves itself with alchemy, chemistry, and this, like, mercury potions in the East, you know, the whole turning lead into gold shit originally came from the East. All the alchemy originally came from the East. It was brought into Europe by the Babylonian exiled 480 Talmudist, and I couldn't even call them Jews because Talmudists are their own weird thing. They think that they can exercise the same sort of weird alchemy on people that they, and in some ways they do. It's very Emperor's Children, you know. It's very Fabius Bile. The prodigal son proved that yapping drains your aura, and you should just ball out. You know, what we do here is we yap, we drain aura. But hopefully, when you listen, you stack your aura. And hopefully I'm doing something good for people listening. I think it was the ancient Greeks who first foresaw a unified world culture, but they didn't want to flatten everything special out for it. The Romans said, hold my beer. Hold my mead. And they attempted to do that. And that's the Neo-Babylon of Rome that people criticize when they criticize Roman Catholicism. And there is legitimately nothing worse than a Crusader king's, occultist tattoos all over his body, wishes the Knights Templar were still around sort of person. Because they're either completely uneducated and stupid and a useful idiot and will be discarded by the next one, who are very, very, very evil people. Tremendously evil people that use every single tool available to their manipulative advantage, whether it's theatrics or alchemy or chemistry or warfare and politics and all the things. That's why theosophy, as I've described, is a toolbox. It's a tackle box. You open it up and you find out what you need for the particular thing, and you can mix and match as you want. And that's dangerous. And it's important to learn how that happens, and it's important to learn what parts they're mixing and matching and how they're messing things up in order to prevent the reverse engineering from all the world's cultures into a deadly, deadly weapon against billions of people. Filtering everything through class is an extremely destructive proper analysis. It's extremely destructive to proper analysis. And it is that egalitarian flattening out of all the special parts of history in order to put Marxist theology, Marsist theology, Romanist, baseline pagan thinking. So you got higher levels of paganism than the Romans and the Slavs, higher level than that in the Germans, and in my opinion, you have the highest level paganism in the Celtic people. In my opinion, that's pretty obvious. But some other people are entitled to disagree with that. Some people think that there's no such thing as a Celtic person, or that the Celts were completely overrun by the Germans, so that means that they were always Germans, and that is part of the, diagonal integration. You know what I'm saying. I've talked about it enough. And I gotta stop saying that too. I gotta stop saying. Now, I've worked on I'm working on the ums. I'm working on not cursing. These are all crutch words that prevent my brain. They allow my brain to rest instead of exercising right. Speaking of which, Oh yeah, and I need to work on the. Remember that time on the podcast when I said I need to work on that too. But genuinely, if you need to do it while you're sitting, if you need to do it while you're on your bed, please try to do the neck exercises that I taught you, where you keep things perfectly square and bend it far to the ear to the shoulder as possible. Roll it forward in a 90-degree angle. Do not go to the other side. Do not go to the other side until you have completely de-stressed that area. And then do it on the other side. And, go slow, go deliberate, feel your muscles, feel the tension in certain areas, feel it release on the other side before you start going towards the other side. And then once you've mastered that, utilize your 3 seconds in, 7 seconds out breathing pattern, where you're really only breathing 6 times a minute. Do you understand how that works? That lowers your heart rate. It really does. And a low heart rate is detected in long distance runners and weightlifters, extreme weightlifters who really, really care, instead of the weightlifters who are faking and using supplements and shit. I definitely wouldn't suggest using any type of supplement or any type of nootropic, for the love of God. But utilize that while you're stretching. And after you've done that, you've started to link up really hard your brain with your body. More and more and more. And that will genuinely extend your mind into your muscles in a much more effective way. And then you'll love to do exercises. And you know what? Do whatever breath. Once you've figured the breathing and stretching out, do whatever breath you want when you exercise, If you need to get a little right before you do something real hard, go for it. But that foundation that you rest on, where originally you were in a meditative state, and you focused on your breath, that is the secret of the Shaolin monks. That's how they can do all that crazy shit. Which is a little overplayed, but it is very impressive, especially in the ancient world. People have basically stolen parts of their culture over time, to the point where it is less impressive compared to the new synthesized stuff. But for the fact that they figured it out for thousands, if not multiple hundreds of years, dozens of, multiple hundreds of years, and it's pretty impressive. Celsius is good for water and cold temperatures. So if you're dealing with storms where it's close to freezing, then Celsius is real good, because it'll tell you exactly how much ice is stacking and how deep the ice will go in the water and how much snow could stack. But Fahrenheit is better for hotter weather. Trust me, when you start getting up to 95, you'll want to know every single Fahrenheit tick. It's also better for the body. It's better for dealing with the body, which is around 98.6 degrees on average. And Fahrenheit's real good for active medicine, but Celsius is good for chemistry. And cooking? Yeah, cooking too. Makes things a little easier in cooking. If history is told in Pokemon terms, then don't get it twisted. India is the first stage. Those Indians are like the basic evolution. And then when they evolve at level 16, they become gypsies. And they have caravans. They've turned their wheels, their Dharma wheels, into caravans, and they've started to actively move and actively do stuff. It's way better than the Indians you see today. So obviously you get India as the first stage, gypsies as the second stage, and then when they hit level 32, they become Indo-Europeans, and they unlock the colorful eyes and hair traits. But most importantly, Indo-European is a gypsy that was reborn through weather extremes, through finding like volcanic pools and resting in them in between freezing weather. That might get me in trouble too, but it's funny. Yup. Final stage, Charizard, that's an Indo-European, but your Charmander, that's an Indian. So, don't get it twisted. Alright, y'all. Take care. Stay warm. Take care.